Welcome to the Tech on Toast podcast, and I'm joined by Victoria Searl, founder and head hawk at datahawks. Vic, how are you?
I'm great, and I've just realised, why are we dressed the same, Chris?
I don't know. When we release the video, we'll be able to say that you got the memo. I've got my specs actually somewhere as well, but I've lost them today. It's very nice to see you virtually. We've seen each other in person a lot. And how are you? How are things? Busy?
A bit, yeah, a little bit. It's it's definitely going in the right direction. Do you know, this time last year there was 2 of us, and there's now 9 of us, which is amazing and terrifying in equal measure. So yeah, I'm living the dream, albeit with a bit of sickness alongside it.
And before we even talk about datahawks, you're not just a hawk. You also have your own WhatsApp group, which you've actually become part of my life, annoyingly. And actually, I've had quite a bit of business from, if I'm honest. And you have another group. So just talk us quickly through your WhatsApp groups, because anyone listening might want to join in if you'll allow them.
Oh God, yeah, the more the merrier. So we've got team marketing. That was the one that started in lockdown. You know what? It was a place for me to have a little cry, if I'm honest, with some fellow marketers who were all wondering, like, what's going to happen in lockdown. And it's now 385 ish strong, growing by the day.
Yes.
It's out of control. It's amazing. I mean, absolute, like, it's collaboration. It's it's just real support. I mean, people falling over themselves to be helpful.
That's the thing that really amazes me, right? The support side of it. I think, because obviously there's leads in there and people like drop things and say, oh, I need this. And it's like, and everyone like will get on it, and they all do it privately, which is quite nice. It isn't done in the group. It will then go off the group. But the one thing that really sticks out for me is the support. It's just like, oh, I'm really stuck on this. Bang, bang, bang. Everyone's helping out. It's just a lovely place to be.
Do you know what? That group, I think, has changed the way we market as an industry, because before, I was a marketer for a long time, and we kept our marketing cards very close to our chest because we didn't want anybody to know what we were doing, and everybody was, exactly. Where now people are like, oh, we haven't had any Mother's Day bookings. Is anybody having a shit time at the same time? And people are like, yeah, we're having the same time. And it's completely changed. It's completely opened up, because ultimately we're all trying to do the same thing. Like, we're all on the same side.
Put their a little graph in of their sales data. Do you remember he put his sales data in? He's in a very local cafe, I think, in Cornwall, and he shared his data and said, "Is anybody else feeling this pain?" And I was like, "Wow, that's that looks painful." But 4 or 5 people straight away, like, that's normal. Don't worry, that's what we're going through. Check your unemployment. The area might have gone up. This. I was just thinking, the insight you get quickly, compared to like sitting in your chair in your office worrying, is amazing. Anyway, I thought it's really good.
So it's an incredible group. So that's growing by the second. Sorry, how do people join?
Yeah, can they join you? How do they join?
Yeah, God, I mean, if you're involved in marketing and hospitality at all, if you're a marketing supplier, or a marketer or agency, anything connected with marketing, just drop me a little note and send me your phone number, and I'll get you added immediately. The more the merrier.
Immediately. And there's another group which I'm not involved in, and next bit will tell you why I'm not allowed to be involved.
And for good reason. So I've got another reason. No, I've got another group called Well Behaved Women, which is based on that sort of saying, well behaved women sort of seldom make history. And basically this is for women who have frankly had enough of this shit. So if you are having the kind of experiences that I've had in my career, with terrible bosses, with, sexism, with anything that's just kind of affected you at work, and you're a woman, doesn't matter what level you're at, it honestly doesn't matter which industry you're in, join Well Behaved Women. That started literally a few weeks ago, and there's 150 furious women in it now. But you know what? We're already driving real change. We really are driving change, and it just goes to show the power of numbers. And what I love about this group is the amount of people that have said, either in the group or have messaged me privately, I either thought I was the only one, or I've never ever had the nerve to say this stuff out loud, because you're afraid to say it. You don't want to damage your career. You don't want to look weak. There's so many reasons why you've got to sort of keep your mouth shut. And all of a sudden you're amongst friends. You're in a very sort of safe environment. You don't even have to put your name in if you don't want to. Just go by your first name. And people are growing. Really young people like me who have been around a little bit. It's for everyone. But I'm so proud of that group. I'm so proud of what we're achieving. And I can tell you, with the revolution starts here. We're going to drive it from that group. So if you're up to no good in this industry, we're gonna come for you. So yeah, watch out.
It's lucky
Watch
Tech
out.
on Toast has one employee, and that is me. But you know what I love most about it is that WhatsApp is tech, essentially. But it's that form of what you're doing there you couldn't do 10 years ago. Maybe you could 10 years ago. I'm not sure about WhatsApp, but maybe, you know, a while ago you couldn't do that. And you're right, people would be in silos, little groups, a bit like the French Revolution in cafes, people hanging out, talking to each other. But now it's so much more immediate and so quick to get to the bottom of issues. So yeah, I love it. I think it's great. So if you want to join, do they just hassle you on LinkedIn? How do they find you?
Literally, just come and hassle me on LinkedIn. Drop me a number, and let's get you in that group. The more, the merrier. Absolutely.
Love it. So look, it was nearly a nice segue because you talked about some horrible bosses, which I think is also a film. But you would how have you? So datahawks is fantastic. Explain to us what it does and tell us a little bit of how you've got to this point.
Do you know what datahawks came from? Some terrible experiences actually as a marketing director, and I honestly got really sick of people describing what I did as the colouring in department, and I could never prove the value of the stuff I was doing or the stuff I was thinking, and I just thought, you know, to be frank, I'd probably made myself unemployable by this point, so I had to set up a business just to be able to pay the mortgage, and I suddenly thought, I'm going to set up a business that's based around data, and it's going to empower marketers. It's going to allow marketers to use insights to drive great marketing, to drive trackable results that enables them to go marching into the boardroom, whack down a bag of cash on the table, and go, "That's what I bring to this business. Why aren't I on the board?" So it really came from that, and I kind of started it right at the start of lockdown. And to be honest, lockdown was really good for me because I was at home and I was on LinkedIn a lot, and I became very vocal about the opportunity that marketers have, that the opportunity that, you know, that businesses had, and I was incredibly vocal about, you know, about what we needed to do, and it's just completely taken off from there. It's just been amazing, an amazing sort of nearly 3 years.
And you know, people refer to you as the queen of data, head hawk,
among other things.
Many different titles. They're the ones I can say at this time of day. But what? So, there's so many levers to pull, I'm guessing, with data, and pandemic, as you mentioned, then brought an opportunity, or probably an opportunity that already existed, but not everybody was really focusing on it. I think in the hospitality industry anyway, big data or data wasn't really being used to our advantage, and all of a sudden people had to gather data to allow people actually into their building to eat. And they've sat with all this data. And I'm presuming then you were like, okay, that's powerful. What levers can you pull? What's the way that you can help these guys once they've gathered all this data? Tell us some of the things that datahawks can do for you.
So we've got sort of like two core products. We've got a thing called the Marketing Intelligence Report. Basically, it's a document that we produce that's a combination of audit, insight, and strategy. So we're going to pull all your sort of pots of data together, and we're going to tell you how much of your footfall you're collecting. You know, what's the quality of your data, what's the range of your data, and you're going to get a real sort of, you know, audited sort of overview of the data you've got, what you can do with it, but also the gaps you've got as well. And then the second part of that is insight. And so we're going to get into your database and we're going to work out, you know, who your key customer groups are. Most businesses have 5% of their database driving maybe 50, 60, 70, 80% of their revenue. That's brilliant if you know who that 5% is, but most businesses don't have a clue who that 5%, you know, is or are. So those insights are about us kind of highlighting who your key groups are, who's most valuable to you, who's most likely to become most valuable, you know, who's lapsing, who's already lapsed, you know, and you end up with all those really decent insights around the frequency of your customers, the recency of your customers, and the value of your customers. And then you end up with a strategy from that as well, you know, about how to turn all of those insights into action. But what we were finding is that we were sort of rocking up to brands and sort of saying, listen, we found you £5 million worth of opportunity. And it's really achievable. And they were looking at this deck and they're going, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. And we were like, yeah, I know, right? And then they never touched it again. They literally never opened the deck again. And I just thought, why would you not do that? I've literally found you several £1 million worth of opportunity. Like, why aren't you using it? And then I rewound a little bit to being a marketing director. And I kind of remembered a time where we had the CEO on one shoulder kind of going, where's my discounts, Vic? I want my discounts going out fast. And I had the ops director on the other shoulder. I know, right? Ops director on the other shoulder, sort of saying, Vic, I need some posters for the toilet doors. Get your pencils out, Vic.
Oh my God, I was that man.
Yeah, I know. You're lucky I speak to you, honestly. But I wasn't operating for a long time, so probably been guilty of that myself. But all of that is taking up valuable time. And I go to log in my CRM system, and I think, well, I'm not the greatest person on the system anyway. And it takes me about 3/4 of an hour to work out how to send one email, let alone 10 emails. Not today. And I just shut my laptop and kind of quietly go away. And I realized that was the problem. Nobody had the expertise or the inclination, or just frankly the time to action those insights and send out really sort of decent, segmented and personalized marketing. And so I set up a second part of the business, campaigns, and that's all about it. It's a fully managed CRM system. So we're giving you the insights and we're actioning them for you as well.
And that was one of my points, actually, that managing data, it sounds simple, it sounds like data input, sounds like reading a spreadsheet, but actually, is it a specialist role? I mean, can you just place, so we've got a social, hospitality, you've got a social media exec, we can just move her over and put her into managing our data. Does that work?
No.
Right. So it is a specialist role.
It's a specialist role.
I'm just saying, because sometime in my career I may have done something similar.
No, it's one of those things, because it's a specialist role in so much as, first of all, you've kind of got to you've got to have a bit of a goal in mind. Like what are you looking for in that data? How are you going to take that data and help that data help you answer the questions you need to know about your business in order for you to sort of plan your strategy from it? If you're thinking about, is it a specialist role, as in, do you need to be a data scientist? Do you need to, have a mind like a calculator? Well, I haven't, and it's my business and it was my idea. So it's a specialist, as you've got to know what you're doing and you've got to have a vision of what you're trying to get out of it. But lots of people can get more from their data.
So I suppose rather than specialist, then more of a sole focus. Like, when you shine a light on something, it gets better, obviously. So if you all say do this today, we'll all get better. And I wonder if that's the point, isn't it? That actually data is great and it's great to have a lot. But if you're really not making that a priority, then obviously, like you said, it's going to be left on the table, right? Money's going to be left on the table.
It does. You know what? I use this phrase all the time, that to be a customer business, you have to be a data business. And we as an industry, actually, particularly in hospitality, we talk about all this all the time. We're such people, and we do less than any other industry to understand our customers and then leverage that understanding in our communications and the way we develop our brands. So actually, it's great if you've got a single site and you can sit by that door every day and interview people in depth with some really skilled questions about why they're there and what drove them to get there and where else they're going. Crack on with that. But most of the time you haven't. And you can look around your business and you can go, okay, I know who comes in here. It's Suits. Let's say it's Suits. But because you're not psychic, you cannot look at the 20 people that are sitting around in your chairs and work out which 3 of them are most valuable to you. So you have to use data, and that means it's a constant thing. It's a constant discipline, and it should underpin everything you're doing, because it underpins marketing, it underpins ops, it underpins every facet of a business.
And what was you might not be able to answer this, so I'll ask anyway. But when you were talking about when you go into a business and you kind of grab their data or look at their data, because a lot of hospitality business now are using many SaaS products. They've got, one for HR, one for online ordering, one for mystery diner, whatever it might be. Is it easier when they kind of have it all in one place? I'm guessing I probably know the answer to this. Or does it become more complex when they've got data pots everywhere?
Well, I mean, the more data, the better, and we'll talk no doubt in a bit about kind of what makes good data and so on. But for me, there's no point having a ton of data if it's not actionable. So if you can get all of those streams feeding into a really decent, CRM system, then you've got the data, but you can do something with it. That's the thing. Everything we do at datahawks, it's about it being actionable. And if it's not sitting in the CRM system, it's not actionable.
And that's great. So organizing, my next question was about organizing data. So you obviously have a lot. And I know you guys support this process, that you help them, because organizing isn't exactly monetizing it yet. It's getting to a form where you can. How do you organize it? Is it just a CRM, or am I being basic?
No, get it into a CRM because we want to be able to do something with it. So you know, if we're pulling all those different pots of data, and it's important that we kind of make the distinction between, you know, what's useful data and what's not. If we've got data that isn't linked to an email address, for instance, it's not particularly actionable. If we've got data sitting in on the social channels, that says that that's data attached to someone who likes you. It doesn't tell you that they're a customer. So we want as much of that proof of presence data as possible. The stuff that puts people in the business, you know, in the building. So have they made a booking? Have they logged into the Wi-Fi? Have they redeemed a voucher? Have they used order and pay? You know, etc., etc. And then once you've got all of that, all sort of like sitting nicely in a CRM, that's when we can start to, you know, analyze it. We can optimize it if we want to sort of fill some of those data gaps, but it's there ready to be actioned as well. And I suppose the final point on that as well is to be able to use it, it has to be opted in data. So what we'll find is we'll use 100% of the data that a business will give us, but depending on your opt-in rate, that depends on how much we can you know, action that at the other end, because we can't talk to anybody that hasn't opted in to receive the communications that we want to send.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. And delivery data, I wasn't going to go into it too much, but you don't actually own that, do you? As a restaurant, if you're working with Deliveroo or Uber or whoever, you get snippets of information. But again, I don't think it's opted in unless there's some kind of tick box at the other end, and that's frustrating, right? Because click and collect's different, because obviously you get the customer's details to do the transaction. So I'm guessing that's a lot of data. That's obviously there's a reason Deliveroo keep it. I imagine that's a lot left on the table potentially, because these are new customers potentially.
It's massive. You know how people say that McDonald's isn't a fast food business; it's a property business because they buy the plot that they're on, and they you know they own the building. So actually, the burgers that makes them a ton of money, but it's the property that they're sitting on. And I think Deliveroo must be doing a similar thing as well, because you know, they're hoovering up data. They're generating so much. They know so much stuff about you. They know that you're sitting at home, what mood you're in, have you fallen off the wagon, you know, when it comes to diet, what the fact that we're wearing the same outfit. You know, they could tell what level of depression you're at. They could probably tell whether you're about to come on your period or something by what, you know, sweet stuff that you've ordered. They know everything about
you. The first time it's been mentioned on the Tech on Toast podcast.
And we'll do menopause in the next question. But the point is they know everything about you. And they're hoovering up all this data, and they know it, and they're holding on to it. And you know, I've got real beef about this. And I wrote as you can imagine, I wrote a piece on this during lockdown.
Really?
Which is that I know you're probably surprised, but I have got an opinion on this. Which is that this is an industry that's popped up. You know, 5-6 years ago, none of this stuff existed, and it's a multi-billion-dollar industry or pound industry now, right? But let's not pretend that they're here to help our industry particularly, because if they were, they'd be giving you that data, or they'd be making it much easier for you to get hold of it so you could grow the rest of the business. And instead they're saying, listen, we can advertise you. They're a marketing business. We can advertise you. We can get you in front of people, and that's incredibly helpful. It's going to increase your reach. But we're going to keep all of the good stuff behind that, because actually the data we're going to gather is arguably more valuable than the burger that you're going to sell through us. You know, and that's not even counting the 40% commission we're going to take. So to me, they really need to sort of open up, you know, to some of that. And I hear that, you know, that's starting to happen, and they're starting to be a bit more open with their data. But we've got to work in partnership with these businesses. You know, Deliveroo is great because it helps the reach, particularly for small businesses. It massively improves your reach. It gives you a marketing platform that you couldn't dream of, you know, as a small operator at a price. But they've got a responsibility to kind of come back and go, we are going to tell you some stuff about your customers so you can use it elsewhere as well. We've got to work closer together.
And I know a lot of independents or dark kitchens, those kind of people who are slowly starting to re-innovate, if that's a word, to kind of come away from the commission model, to come back to themselves, run their own riders, whatever it might be, or use some of these guys popping up now with their own little riders or bikes. And because they will fight back because they can't survive. So it becomes, because the margin is everything, right? Margin has always been everything, and it's about, can you innovate a product? And I think I'm a massive advocate of delivery. I think it's a whole brand new industry. Well, it is, and but I agree that it needs to be hand in hand with the bricks and mortar part of the industry. Otherwise, it won't be sustainable, because there'll be no bloody units left. So anyway, I think it's interesting. So back to cash. So Vic's come into Chris's cafe. I only have one. And you've found my 2 pieces of data that I own. How are you going to monetize it, Vic? I'm guessing you're not going to Chris's cafe.
Sounds shit. First thing I'd do is probably call environmental health or something just to give the kitchen a once over. How am I going to monetize it? Well, I'm going to first of all knock it into shape. I'm going to get those 2 pieces. Just check that they're proof of presence data. I'm going to hand load them into that CRM system you've got. I'll probably enhance it, quite honestly. I'll probably run it through an amazing pot of data that we license from an incredible business called StarCount, just to give us some richer insights
very cool
around there. Yeah. They are an incredible business.
Very quickly on a digression, but tell us about StarCount, because I saw I've seen it twice now, I think, speak, but brilliant business and really interesting. So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so Rowena Humby runs StarCount, an incredible business. So they've built. I mean, first of all, they've built an incredible platform and an incredible tool for you to be able to kind of use it and get all these insights. But they've got access to some just fantastic pots of data. And how we work with them is, if we've got your 2 pieces of data, you'd arguably need more than 2, but let's say we've got your two email addresses. Okay, brilliant. You're in fast growth. That's good to hear. Let's say we've got several thousand email addresses. As long as people are using the same email address to be on your database as they are to engage in the platforms that they're sort of pulling the data from, we're going to start to see what's going on those platforms. So we can really understand the behaviors of people outside the business as well. So you're not just getting that very narrow view of, well, they come in here and they buy a vegan burger and they visit, 3 times a year, and they spend, £30 a time, and they come in groups of 3 and they live in South London. We're not just going to get that. We're going to get all of the extra stuff outside it. And because of that, it helps us understand, well, why are you buying that vegan burger? Are you buying it because, it's a health thing, or it's a well-being thing? Or are you buying it for animal welfare or sustainability reasons? And we wouldn't talk to those 2 people in the same way. So it gives us the why behind the behavior. And when we use it, we just can send out much more personalized communications that convert, infinitely better than non-personalized communication. So it's we do a lot of work with them, a huge amount of work with them. They're an incredible business and a fantastic bunch of people.
That sounds like it might create a lot of work my end, right? So I'm the marketer or I'm the person at the other end, but I'm guessing it doesn't, because I'm guessing once they're in their pots that they live in, these people, you are building separate communication streams, I suppose, to talk to them, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's not to say that it's not working so much as, because you've got to do something with that. There's no point knowing that you're buying a vegan burger out of health and fitness reasons, and I'm buying it for animal welfare reasons, and then not using that information.
Yeah.
So you need to be on the end of that and kind of go, okay, well, there's 2 instant streams of information. You could choose to kind of chop that up in a number of ways. So if you let's say you're advertising in your cafe, you've got a new menu, you could do what most marketers do now, which is to go, new menu, we've got a new menu, it's the greatest menu ever, try it, it's great.
Since the last one.
Since the last one we did, it's even better than that, and that was the best one we'd ever done. You could do that, whack that out to the whole database. You could personalize on the, well, hang on a minute, they buy vegan products. Let's split this out. That group are getting non-vegan messaging. That group are getting, look at the new vegan things on the menu. It's really great.
That's the thing, right? Isn't it? That, I mean, if you're a vegan and you're receiving a blanket database email that talks about stuff that isn't, you're switched off, right? Or you're turned off and possibly unsubscribing pretty quick.
Exactly, because it's not relevant and it doesn't resonate. But imagine, even better than that, you're a vegan, and not only are you getting the details of the vegan product, but we know why you're eating that vegan product. We know whether it's for health, we know whether it's for animal welfare, we know whether it's for well-being, and you're going to get a communication tailored to you. You're not going to get off that database. And what's very likely to happen, and we see it all the time, is you're likely to go, yep, I'm going to book a table there and get one of those. So it's an incredible pot of data, and we work with it a lot.
And the campaigns, tell me a bit more about the campaigns, because someone told me, that email marketing is dead.
No. What fool told you that?
Tell me their name. No, I'm not going to say their name. But it was interesting, right? And I know it's not, because we use it at one of my companies and it works very well. And I know that you're banging that drum, but done correctly, right?
Well, exactly, and that's the key, because it's not enough to just send out an email now. It has to be segmented. It has to be personalised. Actually, and I've done a lot of research on this, because obviously I set up that second part of the business, campaigns, and that was very much built on the whole point of it is we're sending out emails for you. It's a managed CRM service.
Oh, so
So
you
I
do
wanted
that,
to share.
so that you're
Oh
physically
yeah.
managing that, right? Okay.
Oh, we're getting into the data. We're working out, first of all, what's the most profitable action to take, for all of these different segments. What do we want to do? What segmentation do we want to do? What's the action we want to drive? So do we want to get you to visit one more time? Do we want to pull you back from the brink of lapse? Whatever it might be. And then we're going to apply all the personalization on the top of that. So, is it a case of actually you don't read long emails, so we're going to send you a short form email, for instance, or can we do something with colors, or can we do something with we've got about 150 different levers that we can pull. Can we talk to you about a specific element of the fact that you're buying that vegan burger? And then automation. So what are those automated journeys rather? They're the emails that are making your business money when you sleep. And we work out all that. And what we do is we get the keys to your CRM system, and we plan the email, we write the email, we sort the creative, we write the copy, we test the subject lines, and we build in a huge amount of subjects. If it requires 18 versions of an email to go out, then we write 18 versions of it. We send it out, we test it, we send it out, and then we report on it. So you can just give us the keys and just go and sit and count your money, quite
No problem.
frankly.
It's done. I'm on my way.
That's it.
And I did some work around email nurturing, something I thought I'd never know. For the person who, like me, didn't know what that was, it's basically when you drop out of a flow, right? So you've signed up for something, or you're half signing up, and then you come away, or you've been offered something. You kind of look at it, but you don't go on. And I can't believe the power of going back with the right messaging to those people in that journey, and actually they then pick back up and come through. Is that something you see as well?
Yes, I mean, imagine this in real life, right? So if I said to you, "Oh, we should totally do a podcast together," and you're like, "Yeah, absolutely, I'm on it," right? And then life gets in the way, and we go off and do another little
Is this
thing,
real?
right?
This happened,
Is
right?
it? I mean, it's quite close to home, isn't it? And then you kind of remember it because you've been nudged. Because maybe I sent you a little message with a cat picture or something, and you've gone, "I needed to talk to you about podcasts." Actually, next thing we know, we've got it in the diary. Let's say we kind of go, we haven't really picked up, on it later. If I send you another little message that kind of goes, "Oh, I've noticed we've got that podcast coming. Do you want to have a chat about it?" Then we're here. It's just little nudges. It's just that we might, because life gets in the way, and few people are going onto on a website or going onto social or whatever it might be, and they're focused and just like, "I will not look at anything because nothing is more important in this moment
Shiny thing.
than
Yeah.
sending, like booking this table. Nothing's more important to me." Yeah, you're like, if you're like me, you're like, "This is the most important thing I've ever done." Ooh, and you are.
For those not watching video, Vic saw a shiny thing. But yeah, no, I think it's really. I found it really interesting because I always would say that I'm not that person that would be triggered to come back into the journey, but I totally am, and I did it with Apple 2 weeks ago. I was totally sucked back in. But yeah, I find it really interesting, and I think this leads us nicely onto good and bad data, as I like to call it. Is there such a thing, Vic, as good and bad data?
Well, I suppose you could say that. So good data would be, first of all, first party data or zero party data. And what I mean by that is zero party. This is the stuff that people gladly hand you. They're like, "Have my email address. I want you to have that information about me." Or even first party data, which is the stuff that maybe you'll get as an output of something. So you log into the Wi-Fi and you're leaving a digital footprint, and it says, "Are you happy to share your data?" And you go, "Yeah," right? It's the stuff that people gave you. So the stuff that you're gathering yourself is the best kind of data, because it's clean, it's gold, but it's clean and it's safe and it's opted in and it's protected and it's legit, and it's and it's stuff that you've gone and found yourself. So it's all good. You want proof of presence data. So no point getting really excited about all the data you're pulling from from Instagram. God, I follow loads of brands I've got no intention of visiting, or ever going to. It shows that people it's vanity data, Chris. It's vanity data. It makes you feel really proud that you've got so many followers. It's actually pretty useless in this sort of setting. So make sure it's proof of presence data that puts those people in your business. I mean, it's got to be opted in. There's no point just getting loads of people, you know, and you're gathering all this data through all these different platforms. You can't talk to them. You know, it's got to be opted in. With the amount of times we will say to a business, you know, by moving 5% of this group to this group, it's worth £10 million to you, but you've got an opt-in rate of 10%, so it's not worth £10 million. And they're like,
That's sad.
we need to work on. I feel a bit sad now. You know, so we want it to be opted in so we can use it and it's actionable. But you know, good data stuff that gives you a range. You want demographic stuff. You want stuff like how old somebody is. You want stuff like, you know, gender, all of that sort of, you know, all of that sort of stuff, because it is still somewhat relevant. You want geographical stuff. You don't want to just kind of go, what's your favorite site? You want to say, which site is nearest to your house? What's your favorite site? Well, my favorite site would probably be somewhere in Mauritius. I'm never going to go there. Exactly. You know, so you want really decent geographic stuff. You want really decent behavioural stuff. So, you know, are people, you know, asking for vegan stuff or dairy-free stuff? Because, you know, there's a difference between eating dairy-free out of health reasons and eating, you know, dairy-free, you know, for sort of good reasons. So all of that sort of stuff. But you also want that psychographics data. You want the why behind the behavior. You know, that's the key stuff, because that's what you personalize on. And
so powerful, isn't it? To have that.
So powerful. Yeah, so powerful.
And that's why data is power, as I'm sure you've probably said before to people. But it really is, because to understand behavior is, same in people, actually. It's the same thing, you know, just to understand why psychometric testing, all that kind of stuff. To understand how people behave is absolutely key.
We're in the era of personalization, and you need that information. So that's what makes good data. It's yours. It's clean. It's opted in. It's got a good range. It's got a good sort of depth. You've got a decent volume of it, and it's all sitting in a great CRM system for you to start actioning it. What makes bad data is data that you haven't really harvested yourself, or isn't connected to the email address that you're using. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they said, I've bought a load of data. First of all, I just thought, Jesus, I mean, GDPR time bomb ticking there, you know. So I was like, I don't want to be getting involved in that. The other thing is how it was harvested in the first place. So let's say somebody gives you a pot of data and it says, these people really, really love beer, right? And you're like, got it. I'm going to talk to all these people that love beer. Absolutely brilliant. If the question that harvested that data was, out of a glass of wee or a glass of beer, what would you rather drink? Beer. If that's the question that got that data, you know, that gathered that data, that's not helpful. That's not good data for you, is it? Because it doesn't give you any real insight. It's like Frankenstein's monster.
You don't know how that has been formed or built.
It's like a Frankenstein's monster of data, where it comes in, it's absolutely all, it's got a big, do you remember the old cut and shut cars you'd get? You know, and it's
one for the kids, this reference.
ask your parents or Google it, but you know, you get the front of a Ford Escort from 1983, nicely welded to the back of a Capri from 72. And that's it. And you can't do anything with it. It's not clean. It's not GDPR. It's very unlikely to be GDPR compliant. Don't touch it. You don't know where it's come from, Chris. Don't touch it.
And it's like it's almost reputational damage, isn't it? I learned a very early lesson with when we started our last company. We sent an email out and we'd gathered data. That's what I'm going to say. We'd gathered data and we sent the email out, and we had about 85 replies saying, "Take me off this list straight away." And I physically felt sick. I was just like, I can't believe it, because all I could think of was they're thinking, that company, I'm never going near it ever again. And that, you know, when you start doing a startup or something, it's just like you feel like you've just scored the biggest own goal ever. Exactly.
There's one other part of data actually that I'd say be a little bit wary of, and that's data that's harvested through competitions. So it's a really sort of natural thing to do, and I've done it myself as a marketer many times, that you think, I really want to boost my database. I'm going to whack a competition on Facebook or whatever it might be, and say, listen, great competition here. All you've got to do is drop your email into enter, you know, etc., etc. But there is a professional group of people who are literally professional compers. It is their full-time job to scan the internet for the mention of the word competition. And what's going to happen is you're going to get an instant boost, and then very quickly you're going to lose probably 95% of that database, because once they've entered the competition and the you know, the expiry date of the competition has gone, they're all going to come back off it again as well. So just make sure that you're playing the long game. You've got to collect data that's going to be really, really useful to you, and that's going to take a little bit of time.
It's almost like with tech, you have like obviously most people have a roadmap where they have iterations where they're going to add features and benefits and fix things that are broken. I almost think a good data needs a roadmap, right? You need to understand your marketing calendar needs to sit on top of your CRM and all make sense. And actually the tent poles that you're activating throughout the year all should be led from your data. God, I sound like I should know what I'm doing.
Exactly. Do you want a job?
No, I've got 7.
Yeah, we've no, it's exactly right. You've got to do it in a planned way. You've got to be strategic about what you're doing. A lot of this stuff can happen at the same time. You can be doing data capture at the same time as you're trying to drive your opt-ins, at the same time as you're testing different sort of techniques in your database. You can be doing all that at the same time, but you've got to do it properly. You've got to have a roadmap. You've got to have a strategy in mind. You've got to have an objective.
And this next question, I wrote it. I may have been weak at the time, and I feel like I'm scared of asking you. But I always ask the guys at the end, what kind of, if you were a tech entrepreneur, or if you could build any tech stack, where would you start, type thing. But for you, I wanted to ask you if you could become marketing director at every business in the land. Oh God, just knocked something off. If you could become a marketing director at every business in the land, what's the first thing you would do in regard to data, Vic? Can't go anywhere else in regard to data to ensure you're driving both revenue and profit and and a strong database for the future?
I'd get us in for a start. Do you know what I would? I'd get us in because first of all, you're going to get the audit of the data. You're going to get all those insights.
Did you just say you hired Datahawk?
I did. I'd definitely get us in. That's the first thing I'd do. I'd work on growing my database. I mean, we'll tell you all this, but I'd work on growing the database. I'd work on getting those opt-ins. I'd look at that CRM as being an incredibly complex and sophisticated machine that's capable of doing incredible things and making you a lot of money. But like all machines, its output depends on what goes in it. You need decent fuel going in data. You need decent materials going in, which is the content. It's your creative, it's your copy, it's your calls to action, it's your incentives. You've got to tell that machine what to do. So I'd use those insights from the start to go, what is this email meant to do? I'm not going to just send an email out once a week because that's what you're supposed to do. What is this email designed to do? What's the objective of it? And I'd make sure it's loaded with objectives. And then you've got to put somebody on it because it doesn't matter how great the machine is. Like, have you ever watched Inside the Factory?
Yes.
And the one where they made Viennettas, right? That was one of the most sophisticated machines I've ever seen. It was amazing. And still, they had a person in a hairnet at the end twiddling stuff, checking that the quality of the fuel was going in.
I'm sure they're listening in right now thinking that's exactly what we do. We twiddle.
That's the technical discussion. But they were checking the fuel was going in. They were checking it had decent materials and ingredients going in. They were checking the output. They knew that they were making Viennettas. They knew what they were doing. And that was a full-time job to stand there sort of, making sure all that was happening. That's what we do. But that's what I do. And I'd stick us at the end of it, quite honestly, because there's no point having these, all this data, all of these insights, all of these plans. If you're sitting there going, I want to send out 22 versions of that email because I know that is going to convert so much better. I mean, so much better than the emails I'm sending out, but I haven't got the time to send more than one. Just stick us at the end of it. We're literally doing it all day long. We're sending emails out all day long, like millions of emails a day. So that's what I do. And then I'd put my feet up and count the money we'd made for you. That's what I do.
I love it. Count the money. So Vic, that's beautiful. And I love talking to you because if ever anyone was engaged with their product, it's you, right? When you run a team, you worry, are you really engaged in what we're doing? No problem with Vic Searl. Totally engaged.
It's turned up to 11, isn't it? The engagement.
It really is. And if people are listening and they want to find out or meet the head hawk even, find out about the Datahawks, I just gave you a new name, the Datahawks. How do they get hold of you? Where do they find you?
Well, as you know, I'm often on LinkedIn having strong opinions, so you'll often find me there. Grab me there. You could email me at victoria@wearedatahawks.com. Nearly forgot my own website name there, which is a worry. Drop me a message on any of those things. Find me, however, get somebody to share their number, whatever. And and I'll add you to those groups, you know. But I love having chats with people. I believe in this stuff. I really believe in this stuff. So I love empowering marketers. I love empowering women. I love data. I love what can be done with it. I think as an industry, we're so far behind. There's so much opportunity, and it is my life's work to help marketers be able to prove the value of what they do, and just march into that boardroom and go, right, there's the big bag of cash. That's what I've done for you. Where's my board seat? That's what I want to help you do.
Mic drop. Leave the room.
I'd like to storm off.
I should ask you to start. Where are you from, Vic? Where are you based? Are you based north, south? Where are you?
Well, I am in South London, so I'm from the Midlands originally. I live in South London, but the datahawks team are spread the length of the UK. So half of the team are up in the northwest, half of the team are down in the sunny South London, and we literally just kind of go backwards and forwards. We've even got clients in Australia now, so you know, who knows? We might open up there next, but yeah,
well, the Tech on Toast audience is global, Vic, so they'll all be listening. They'll be on the phone. All right, brilliant. Look, great to see you. I know you very well, and it's been lovely chatting. But I totally agree with what you're saying. I think data is absolute power for 2023. So let's hope people listen and take you up. Thank you very much.
Thanks
and
so much for your time.
You're going to be on the marketplace, right? We're going to add you to the marketplace so people can come and find you as well. So we'll make sure we put you on. All right,
Thank you.
Lovely.
Thanks so much.
Say bye.
Take care. Thanks for listening. Thank you.